Welcome back, sixth graders. Today, we will be practicing making a plan for informative or expository prompts in response to texts that we read. Our main objective today will be to learn how to make a plan for an expository writing prompt after reading supporting texts. Now, before we get started, I want you to make sure that you have everything that you're going to need for today's lesson. You'll need your reader's notebook, you'll need your pencil, you'll need a text set with 3 passages about Martin Luther King, and you'll need a text set with 3 passages about the moon. Make sure you have those. If you need to stop the video and get them ready, go ahead and do that and start the video again when you're ready. Okay, so we have learned in the past that no matter which word we use, whether we use expository or explanatory or informative or informational, they all mean the same thing. They mean to explain or to give information. So, since we've already learned how to make a plan for expository prompts using that ITC plan, it's going to be as easy as ABC to now learn how to make a plan, but instead of planning for random prompts based on what we know in our head, we're going to be planning for prompts in response to texts that we've just read. So from now on, when you write an expository essay, you will be given 2, 3, or 4 passages to read first that all have a similar theme or a topic. After you read those passages, you'll be given a prompt that directs you to write something about what you just read. This is when you will need to plan your essay and then write. You're going to write a 5-paragraph essay with the same structure that we have previously learned about. Okay, so let's look at some examples. Let's say that you just read 3 passages on helping out in your community. After you read those passages, then you might get a prompt that says, think about how you can make a difference in your community. Using information from the text, explain what work you would do and tell how this work would make a difference in your community. Another example would be, imagine that you were given 2 passages about different animal habitats. Then after reading the passages, you might be given this prompt. Write to inform your reader about protecting animal habitats in a community. For both of those examples, your prompt is based on what you just read. Instead of just writing about your favorite animal or a special person in your life, you will be writing about information that you are given in a text. When you're planning, you will need to come up with your 3 topics, your T1, your T2, and your T3, based on the text. So now we're going to stop the video and we're going to read the 3 passages based on the Martin Luther King Jr. text set. Once you're finished reading all 3 passages, then we'll start the video back up and we'll continue on with the lesson. Okay, now that you've read the Martin Luther King Jr. text set, let's look at this prompt. Martin Luther King Jr. was an inspirational civil rights leader. Think about what you have learned about Martin Luther King Jr. Use information from the passages to explain what you learned about Martin Luther King Jr. Now remember, we are not coming up with reasons why we like Martin Luther King Jr. We're simply informing or explaining to our reader 3 things that we have learned about him. You can pick any 3 things you want from the passage, but you have to make sure they are big, broad things that you can write a lot about. Remember, you're writing 5 paragraphs. When you're picking your 3 topics, you need to put a box around the information and then label and underline your A and B. Let's look at an example. So let's turn to passage 3 of the text to get started with. Okay, so in the example below, I chose life to be my topic for T1. So I'm going to put a box around all of the information about his life. So you can see that I put a box around the early life section, and I put a box around assassination, and I labeled them T1 to the right of each of those boxes. Then I'm going to underline my 2 details about his life and label them as A and B. Even though my whole T1 paragraph is going to be about his life, I'll need to have 2 details. In the first one, my A detail will be about his early life, and then my B detail will be about the end of his life, his assassination. So if I was going to make an ITC plan based on the prompt that I read after I read the 3 passages about Martin Luther King Jr., my plan would look something like this. I'd have the I and C paragraphs be about Martin Luther King Jr., and then my 3 main topics would be his life, civil rights, and his legacy. My 3 topics are big ideas that I can write a lot about. These are all main topics that are discussed in all of the passages, and I can support them with evidence from all 3 passages. I have to make sure no matter what I'm writing about that I use information from all of the passages given to me and include that in my essay. Now, my A and B details further discuss each of my topics. For my main topic 1 of life, I have 2 categories, his early life and his assassination. When it comes to T2, civil rights, I can have all of my A details be about his I Have a Dream speech, and all of the B details be about how he made a difference. And then my T3 is going to be on the big idea of his legacy, how he's remembered. And so my A details will be about the national holiday that is celebrated in his honor, and the B detail will be about the memorial dedicated to him. All right, guys, we're going to try one together. So I need you to get out the text set for the moon, and this is going to be the text set that you'll use for partner or independent practice. First, you're going to read all 3 passages, and then when you're done reading those 3 passages, I want you to look at this prompt. The moon is the only other planet where humans have set foot. Write to inform your reader about the moon. All right, so now stop the video and make an ITC plan for this prompt. When you are ready, once you've read the passages and you have made an ITC plan based on this prompt, then you can start the video back up. All right, let's look at how your plan compares to mine. I decided that the main topic, or what I'm writing about, is the moon. So that's what I put for my I and my C paragraphs. Then I had to break it down into 3 main topics about the moon. I chose topic 1, which was living on the moon. And there were a couple of areas that were really addressed in the article. So I chose my A detail to be weather and my B detail to be electricity. My T2 is all about eating on the moon. So my A detail was going to be about eating dehydrated food, and my B detail was all about my senses. And then my T3 topic is how to keep clean on the moon. So my A detail is taking a shower, and my B detail was going to the bathroom. All right, so in today's lesson, our objective was to learn how to make a plan for an informative or explanatory writing prompt after we read supporting texts. We're still using that same ITC outline, but now we're choosing topics based on the texts that were provided to us. Good luck!